I want to get into policing, but there's two other things we want to talk about, and one of them was this more complicated method
Mm-hmm.
of organizing relative to going out into the streets and protesting
Mm-hmm.
en masse.
Mm-hmm.
And the cynics over the past few years have, critiqued Black Lives Matter as both this movement and this organization, and accused the founders of embezzling funds. And the question is, what effects have these mass protests had towards reforming policing and incarceration?
Dignity and Power Now and the JusticeLA coalition, we're not about reforming policing. We're about abolishing the
Mm-hmm.
police and sheriff's departments. And I do think here in LA County, even prior to the summer of 2020, there was deep movement organizing happening in LA County, dating, since the 80s, as far back as I know, like 80s, 70s.
Pre-Watts riots.
Yes, yes. And Dignity and Power Now started, I believe, in 2012 as a result of people who were organizing after losing loved ones to sheriff violence. And out of Dignity and Power Now, there came like the Check the Sheriff Coalition, and all of this was led by families who have experienced violence by the sheriff's department. And this created sort of a groundswell prior to 2020, and the contract to expand Men's Central Jail, the board voted to cancel that at their last meeting before lockdown. So the summer of 2020 hadn't happened yet. Yet it was the on-the-ground protesting and the community advocacy that led to the cancellation of that contract. Also prior to the summer of 2020, the county established the Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission, which, again, was the result of decades of advocacy and organizing led by these families, led by family members whose sons and brothers and sisters and moms were killed by the sheriff's department. And they advocated for a sheriff accountability body, and out of that came the Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission. That was prior to the summer of 2020. So a lot of these things were in place before the summer of 2020 and the George Floyd protests. And what I do think is that the protests nationwide brought spotlight onto the movement work that was already happening in communities, the movement work that was already happening in Minneapolis, in New York City, in Los Angeles, in Louisiana.